This is After the Gridiron, a podcast featuring interviews with retired football players. If you're a fan of After the Gridiron, make sure you subscribe to the show to ensure that you won't miss an episode. Today's episode is sponsored by Symphonies. Symphonies is an online store that provides custom clothing and accessories. They have a number of quality products available at affordable prices. They offer custom, unique, funny, and inspirational products that you won't find anywhere else. So go to www.symphonies.ca to shop for your next purchase. And as a special offer for our listeners, enter promo code GRIDIRON to get 15% off your purchase. So there's no excuse not to check it out. Again, that's www.symphonies.ca. Symphonies. Great products, great prices.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Lyle Green, and today's guest is Kerry Carter. Kerry's a retired running back. He played 3 seasons in the NFL with the Seattle Seahawks and Washington Redskins, and also played 5 seasons in the CFL with the Montreal Alouettes. He was an undrafted free agent with Seattle, but it was also a second-round pick of the Montreal Alouettes in the CFL draft. He played collegiately at the University of Stanford, where he's 7th in career rushing yards with Stanford, and also 4th in career rushing touchdowns. And in his Grey Cup, in the CFL, he won 2 Grey Cup championships, one in 2009 and one in 2010. So back-to-back Grey Cup championships. So, Kerry, thank you for coming and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. It's good to catch up with you.
Yeah, it's great to catch up with you for sure. So to start off, just ask you a quick question. What's something that about you that most people probably wouldn't know about you?
Well, probably the first thing, I was born in Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but
Caribbean,
island man in the Caribbean. Grew up, moved up to Toronto when I was about 9 years old. So, I have a lot of vivid memories of my childhood in Trinidad. And the other thing people probably wouldn't know is I had my motion picture debut a few years back in Good Will Hunting. So
no way.
I got my
wow.
I got my first acting gig in there. I was just an extra, but
hey, still
I got my face on there. So a lot of people see me. I'm in there.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Cool. All right, so we'll start going back to how you got started in football. You mentioned growing up in the Caribbean. I'm not sure if you played any football there, but let me know. Tell the listeners how you got started in football.
Yeah. I didn't play much football or even watch much football in Trinidad, to tell you the truth. But I started to play, I want to say maybe 7th grade or so. My little brother wanted to play, and my mom needed somebody to take him to practice and stuff. And so she said, well, why don't you just go and play, if you're going to take him up there. And so I took him. Actually, I have two younger brothers. One of them started playing, and then the other one came on a couple years later. And so I just honestly started playing out of by default. I was there and wanted to check it out. Didn't really know a lot about it, but it was a cool experience and really learned to love the game. Played a whole bunch of different positions, from D-line to receiver to linebacker, and then ended up playing, running back in high school, and that's where, things kind of picked up steam for me.
And developed. Okay. Did you play other sports growing up as well? Yeah,
man. I played everything, really. Tried to, growing up in Trinidad, you play cricket, of course, but once I got up to Toronto, I played basketball, volleyball, soccer, ran track, and football. And then in high school, I played all of those. I didn't play soccer in high school, but I did play basketball, volleyball, ran track, and football all 4 years at Henry Carr up there in Etobicoke.
Okay. And what was your favorite sport growing up? Was it football or was it one of those other sports?
Yeah, no, football actually wasn't my favorite. I mean, basketball, I think all of us have the hoop dreams,
Oh
watching
yeah,
MJ and Magic growing up and stuff. So basketball was always a sport that I, really enjoyed from the time I was a young kid. Um, Grew up playing a lot of soccer too. But oddly enough, man, volleyball is probably one of my favorites to this day. And that's probably the other sport that I was really fond of and thinking of for college as well. So not a lot of people do the football volleyball double, but
yeah. You
was
don't
something
hear a
I
lot
was
of
really
football,
yeah.
volleyball common.
You don't hear that a lot. But
No.
oddly enough, man, when I got to Stanford, my roommate, his name's Chris Lewis, played quarterback at Long Beach Poly down in Southern California. And he was, two-sport athlete, Gatorade National Player of the Year in football and volleyball. So him and I
Oh,
kind
wow.
of hit it off, and yeah, we've been roommates and kind of best friends ever since then.
Oh, cool. So did you think possibly volleyball would be something that you would end up doing down the road, like in
Yeah,
high school? Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, man. It's when it started getting recruited and stuff, it was football was the main thing, but I really enjoyed playing volleyball. You start to look at the potential for future and all of those things as well. And I think when it came down to it, I was just more of an asset in football. A 6'2", 225-pound tailback is a pretty big asset, especially at that time. Still,
Yeah.
Jerome Bettis and Eddie George and all these big
Oh,
backs.
big back. Yeah.
It was kind of that trend, and so the timing was right for me. And yeah, I was just a much bigger recruit in football, so that kind of swayed me and kept me going in that direction.
Played a big part in that, just in your decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, when did you make that decision that you would just go with football? Was it
Man, I played everything all the way up through my senior year, and just when it came down to looking at scholarship offers and stuff, I was blessed to have a lot of attention in and around football. Going into my senior year, I won the Harry Jerome Award for the top student athlete in Canada, and was just getting recruited by a lot of top schools, and so that made the decision really easy. And I think once Stanford came into the mix, and my mom caught wind of that, and learned about Stanford University, and everything, it was pretty much a done deal.
after that? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get schools like that coming for you. Yeah. That great academic background.
Yeah, exactly. And they're playing top-notch ball at the time. They're playing really good football, and so it's the best combination of both academics and athletics.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so talk about the recruiting process. Growing up in Canada, hockey is the main sport, and you don't get a lot of attention in football, but we do get recruited up here, as we well know. So talk about how the recruiting process went for you and choosing Stanford.
So the recruiting process was an interesting one, right? So I played my high school, but then all of us play summer ball up there, and in Toronto it was no different, right? We played summer ball. I played for the Mississauga Warriors, and we ended up playing against a lot of teams. My first year, I ended up playing against a lot of teams in other parts of the province, and then I joined a different league. For the last 2 years. And there were a few guys that played on that team previously who had been recruited and went to some really well-known programs from Ohio State to Michigan State, Big Ten, even all the way down to Florida State. So I just kind of followed what they did. And I remember, of all the people, people remember this name, Adriano Belli.
Oh, yeah.
The Kissing Bandit. I don't even know if he knows the story, but the coaches that were there that coached him kind of told me about the process he went through, and they, sent out letters to about 100 schools, with his stats and all these things, and then put together a highlight tape, and then started sending those out to a bunch of schools as well. So I just followed that same formula, and I put together a letter and sent it out to a bunch of schools, and then started getting some returned, and they were requesting, the highlight tapes and all that. And so I, started putting those together with the folks at my school and sending those out. And honestly, once a couple of the top schools started recruiting, starting getting calls from, Ohio State and Michigan and Miami and Notre Dame and some of those schools, I think, the floodwaters kind of just open at that point. Because if you're of the caliber that those schools are recruiting you, then kind of all the other schools kind of jump on board. So that was the initial kind of process. And I remember getting all those letters, feeling really, it was just a cool process to be. Yeah, it's a special thing to be kind of wanted and touted like that. And I remember my first letter was from North Texas. And I had a call with them, and he was asking me about my background and where I'm from. And, I don't even think they'd seen tape on me yet. And then once I sent them the tape, he called me back. He's like, man, we'd love to have you. But honestly, in a couple of weeks, we're not going to be able to get you, from what he saw. I was like, man, I'm just happy to be talking to someone. Because I had no idea, where I stood. But luckily he was right that, I could potentially get into some bigger schools. And but you always remember your first.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a special moment, special process, being recruited. And like you said, you get all the letters and you get all the attention from all the schools, and being recruited in your case by the top programs in the country. The Notre Dame, the Michigan, the Ohio States, and the Stanford. That's just really really special time in a person's life for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went on to University of Stanford and had a good career there, and you mentioned some of the numbers that you had there, and you played some good teams and a good program. Talk about your experience at Stanford.
Yeah, the Stanford experience was awesome, man. You just never know what to expect going into any program, but I think I just felt really comfortable entering a program where, I was among other athletes who had kind of varied interests. Like football was the main thing. When you talk to guys about what they wanted to do, with their life, it wasn't just get to the league. It was I wanted to be an electrical engineer, or I wanted to be in finance, or they had real goals and things outside of football, and that made the football process for me that much better, because you're playing alongside guys who are like really driven, goal oriented. Don't need a lot of motivation, kind of self-motivated. And, we had a lot of success in my time there. Played under Tyrone Willingham for my first 3 years. We went to the Rose Bowl in my freshman year. I was able to start and play as a true freshman. We went through some ups and downs in my second year, but then my third year, another top 25 ranking. And I think we ended up playing in a bowl game up here in Seattle. But, we're really close to winning the Pac, winning the Pac-10 at that time. Yeah. So, in my time there, we had, a lot of success as a program. And then just myself personally, just growing and learning the game, learning about the different aspects, and running an offense that really highlighted the running back position. It was kind of a traditional West Coast style offense. So, we do a lot of power plays, and we incorporated the fullback, but then we also threw a lot to the running back out of the backfield, and everything from screen passes to isolation routes and all that as well. So the overall experience there was really beneficial for me and helped me with taking that next step and making it to the NFL, even as an undrafted free agent. I mean, it's all you need is an opportunity to get in the door and show what you can do.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about being able to show what you can do and getting that opportunity, and you definitely got that opportunity with Seattle. So talk about making it to the Seahawks and being an undrafted player. Obviously, it's a tough road to hoe to make it to make it on the team. So talk about the process you went through to make it.
Yeah. So I mean, everyone has the dreams of draft day and being able to hear your name called and the hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars that are involved in that, but it doesn't necessarily come true for everyone. And, you know, I was a little different. I had high hopes going into that time. Actually, myself and one of my good friends now, Darren Dietrich, were, you know, former Nebraska running back, played for us with the Alouettes and also played for Edmonton and Hamilton, I believe, as well. But I remember, you know, seeing Darren. I flew back to Toronto prior to the draft and, you know, caught up with Darren a little bit. We're both in that draft class. And we're just kind of hoping they were picking some running backs early, you know, to help our draft position. Didn't necessarily work out that way. You know, things, you know, kind of guys fell a little bit in the draft. But Seattle was one of those places where I had a really great interview with them at the combine, and they expressed interest in me and said, hey, you know, we're going to find a way to get you up there. And yeah, they did. You know, I had a bunch of teams offer to bring me in as a free agent, but with the style of offense that Seattle ran, they ran a West Coast offense, a lot of the similar vernacular that I learned in college. So I felt like that would give me kind of a leg up, and so that's part of the reason why I chose them. And then, yeah, coming into a situation where, honestly, I felt like I had nothing to lose, man. I was undrafted free agent. They didn't really expect a lot out of me, but they also gave me a lot of opportunity to prove myself. And so I was on the field, you know, a lot in the preseason, and I just looked at that as my big chance and really try to take advantage of it. So, you know, every time I was in there, I treated it like my championship. And, you know, luckily, things went well for me during the season. I mean, during the preseason, really showed out and, you know, had some success early on, and it gave me more opportunity as the preseason went on. And then I just had to learn how to, you know, add value, and knowing that you're going to be in the third string running back position. You got to play on special teams. And so that's where my focus kind of turned, and being able to not just show what I can do is from the running back position, but also being able to make plays on special teams. And I think that's what helped me get in there, man.
Nice. Yeah, life is definitely about taking advantage of the opportunities that are presented, and especially in football, you don't necessarily get a whole lot of opportunities to show what you can do. So when you do get your chance, you got to make sure you shine and show what you can do. And you obviously were able to do that and showed enough to the coaches and to the staff to be able to make the team. So that's good on you for all the hard work that you put into making it there.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that, man. It was a lot of hard work and a little bit of luck.
Yeah, that plays a little part as well, and being in the right situation. And you mentioned, you know, picking Seattle because of their offense and how it to kind of cater to what you're good at and your skills. So that's kind of a part of it as well. And if you have that chance to choose where you want to go, and making the right decision to, you know, pick the place that's going to best suit to you and your skills. So it definitely worked out for you. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so talk about. Go ahead.
No, nothing. Go ahead, man.
Okay, yeah, I was just going to say, after your time in Seattle and Washington, you made it made your way up here to the CFL and to the Montreal Alouettes, and spent some time there. How's your experience with Montreal, and how would you compare it to your time with in the NFL with Seattle and Washington?
Yeah, so it you know, my time in the NFL was obviously, you know, in my mind bittersweet, because, you know, you get to spend some time there, and you know, unfortunately had an injury going into my third season here with Seattle that, you know, kind of kept me out, and so I wasn't able to participate in all the preseason games. And, you know, as a undrafted free agent, you know, somebody's always coming for your spot. So, you know, left Seattle, went to the Redskins, and then actually suffered a ACL injury in the preseason there, so didn't end up playing in that season. And I just didn't want to keep sitting out. And I knew, you know, the kind of program and organization Montreal had going up there, so really pushed on my agent to I just wanted to get back in and play. Yeah. And so he got me an opportunity to come up to Montreal and just kind of get my legs back under me. And so I really focused on you know, doing the best I could and contributing the best I could. And honestly, the timing was just really good, because that off season's when they brought in Coach Tressman. So that was Mark Trestman's first season. And, that stretch run there of about 3 or 4 seasons that we had was probably the most fun I've had playing football in my life, really. Obviously having a lot of success, going to 3 straight Grey Cups, winning 2 back-to-back.
Definitely helps.
It definitely helps the situation. But you're just around a great group of guys, around a legend like Anthony Calvillo, and a lot of the guys that we had on that team, Jamel Richardson, Kerry Watkins, all the guys on defense, Anwar Stewart, and John Bowman still going strong. A lot, Ron Williams. We had just some boys out there. Actually, Devon Claybrooks, the DC for Calgary Stampeders. Like, there just so many guys on there who were just loved the game of football, great people to be around, and just a lot of fun to play with. And I think we went through this experience together where we, set out to do something, and we're able to accomplish that even after failing in our first year, coming together, Trestman's first year, getting to the finals and losing. And that just fueled us for the next couple of years. And that's what really drove, I think, the success that most people saw, over those couple of years where we just felt like we had opportunity to do something special and go out and dominate every time we hit the field. And it was Montreal was a great experience for me, man. And I loved every minute of it. And, it's kind of the only place I wanted to play. So when that opportunity kind of came to an end, I had opportunities to potentially go other places and look at other things. But, I felt like it was the right time for me to kind of walk off into the sunset at that point and make the transition into the rest of my second career and the rest of my life.
Next chapter in your life. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about that transition. As you mentioned, it's kind of near the end of your career with Montreal. You kind of, I guess you're thinking about doing other things. You did have other opportunities to keep playing. So what was that transition like for you, and how did it come about?
Yeah. So for me, I've always been a proactive person, man. So, in the off seasons, I would always do a bunch of different things, from, insurance sales, financial services, marketing. I just tried out a lot of things that I wanted to see. What am I, first of all, passionate about? And then secondly, what am I good at or qualified to do?
Yeah.
And a big part of it is how do you take those skills that you got from playing the game and all the things that you learn and transfer those things into either the corporate environment or as an entrepreneur, having the vision to see something and start putting a plan together and executing on it. So, I did a bunch of things, but I kind of partnered up with a couple guys that I used to play with, and they got into the tech space and mobile, and it was something I was interested in, so I kind of jumped on board and helped them out, and I gravitated towards the marketing side of the business, so I kind of took that aspect over with a company called Viva Vision back in like 2010, so actually before I even finished playing. So my last season was 2011, but came out of that, had a great experience, and actually partnered up with another former Seahawk named Joe Tafoya, and we started a little marketing company doing, events with current former athletes, and then we kind of brought in the tech side, and so we started, building. We kind of do end-to-end management. We build a website, we manage social media, and then we launch these events, with a greater purpose. And it all kind of came together for us when we did an event for Richard Sherman to launch his nonprofit. I forget the year now, but it was, a celebrity softball game that kind of took on a life of its own. And so we, kind of helped create the event, brought Richard on board. We built a website for it. We ran the social media. We produced the event. Everything kind of end to end. And then that event took off and went from, we sold out a small stadium in our first year, about 7,500 people, to the next couple of years. That event went into Safeco Field here and got over 20,000 people. So it was a really, really cool, really impactful event that people in Seattle, can tell you all about. And then we just did some other things around the game of football with fans, fan engagement, using some of the brands that were really, prominent in the Seattle community. So I really focus kind of locally on local athletes, alumni, current guys interested, kind of high scale events to really get their brand out there. And that's what kind of drove me for a bunch of years. And honestly, just came to a point where I was kind of got burnt out on doing events all the time. And I had a young family. I had just had my second daughter back in early 2016. And I heard about this company that was doing some stuff around tackling in football, and like looking at how do you eliminate the head from tackling. And it's obviously a big issue around concussions and TBI and all of those things. Yeah. And so I'd heard about a bunch of companies that were doing stuff with helmet technology, mouthpieces, but I hadn't heard anyone that was doing much around technique. And so I thought it was really interesting. And it was just a good combination of my skills with obviously football background, marketing, technology. And so I joined this company called Atavis. And Atavis is we educate coaches. We try to help them improve performance and inspire confidence in their players to keep them safe. So it's really about this combination of performance and safety through looking at it through the lens of tackling. So how can you, as a player, tackle better using, rugby-style tackling techniques where you eliminate the head? And I almost equate it to like how, martial arts was introduced to defensive line play, and it changed the way the pass rush happened. It changed the way the linemen were valued and all those things. So I think we're just taking that same type of view to tackling. So now we're looking at, well, not just did you bring them down or not. It's not just made or missed. Is how did you get there? What did you close the space down? How did you go into contact? Or where did you hit them? Are you going with your shoulder? How are you expressing your power? So same foot, same shoulder into contact. All of these different elements that just aren't really focused on. And so we've just found a way to quantify those and put it into a structure that created a common language for coaches, and they were able to teach it to their players. And we've just seen a lot of success with different programs at all levels, from youth teams all the way up to pro teams and that are clients that we're working with now.
Okay, very nice. All right, before I go further into your work with Atavis, you mentioned the marketing and all that stuff that you've done before. Is that something you took in school? Is that part of what you took in university, or is that?
No, actually. Yeah, it's just something I was passionate about. I was a pre-med student at Stanford, so I wanted to be a doctor. Okay. And my major was actually medical anthropology. So it was, I kind of have how different medical practices were incorporated into Eastern and Western medicine. So everything from acupuncture to STEM to Ayurvedic medicine and all these different techniques and how they've evolved through the years. But I've always just been a curious person, and I've loved this idea of the psychology of marketing. So it was just something I was passionate about and decided to pursue. So very much out of not really the path that I was on. But I was so far removed from college at that point too. It made it tough. I didn't want to necessarily go back to medical school. So
yeah, once you start playing, and you kind of, the longer you play, the longer you are away from what you did in college and all the schooling that you had. So you kind of have to you kind of reinvent yourself and see what you're passionate about, which you did. So yeah, let's talk more about Atavis. And you mentioned it's used with all different levels. Do you guys have clients with, I guess, in all sorts of like high school up to professional?
Yeah. So we work with, defensive staffs and coaches, and we start with coach education. So we educate them on, why is it you want to focus on these elements of tackling, and what are they, and what makes sense. And once you understand, well, here's how I break down a tackle, from pre-contact to contact, and all the elements in between. Once you break it down, you can see where your players are having breakdowns. So it's not dissimilar to, a track athlete. You coach different elements. You coach the start. You coach kind of that first phase, the dry phase. The next phase, and then how do you maintain it all the way through the finish line? And it's that same type of approach that we've taken to tackling. So it doesn't just start where contact's made. We've broadened it out, and we're able to work with coaches on the high school level. We do coach certification, so we do tackling certification. We partner with the state of Texas, and so we are the official tackling certification partner for Texas high school football.
Oh,
and then we have, it's an awesome thing. And we have a bunch of clients in outside of Texas as well, but then we also work with teams on a year-round basis where we'll come in and we'll do an evaluation of your program, look at the drills that you're doing, look at how those drills are made up, and then give you a tackling plan, let's say, for your off-season. For your off-season training, then when you get into training camp, we have a plan put together. And then in season, we do analysis of all the games. So we look at every tackle from every game. We give them weekly reports, and then tell them which drills they should focus on by position group based on the issues that we're seeing in the games. And so the level of, I think, how complicated it is changes as you go up. So it's way more data-driven when you get to the professional and college ranks, and more coach education as you go down to high school and youth.
Okay. And so how does it work? So do you guys, you mentioned it's pretty in depth. Do you guys put together like a package for them? Is it all like computer based?
So
how does it go?
So it's reports. We have a team of analysts that looks at the games and they analyze the games, and then they put together reports, and then the coaches can actually go onto our proprietary software online, and so they can log in and they can get the reports and their tackle plans for the upcoming week. So they can kind of view everything in there. They can view the data, they can view the reports, they can see their tackle plans, and attached to that is the videos of, okay, here's how I execute the drills and stuff from the tackle plans. And so it's kind of this end-to-end solution that's really driven by data and analysis, but we try to put it in the simplest format because coaches don't really want data. What they want is insights. They want insights and recommendations to, okay, tell me what you saw, and tell me how that relates to what we need to do and how it's going to help us make better decisions moving forward. And so that's where we focus our attention, is essentially translating the data into these tidbits of information that a coach can then share with his players about what's important, what they should focus on for the upcoming week and for the upcoming season.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah, tackling is definitely something that's been lacking in football for a while now, and you can tell when you watch games and see the types of hits and tackles that are being done, and when kids see that, they think, oh, that's the way to do it. When they see pros, just throwing themselves at guys and not wrapping and head down and all that stuff. So for you guys to be doing this is definitely something that's definitely needed and great for football, I think, and will definitely help with regards to all the head injuries and those type of things that are going on that increase. So yeah, it's definitely a great program that you guys have put together.
Yeah, much appreciated, man.
Yeah,
we're open for big things as well.
Yeah, that's great. And what kind of feedback have you been getting from those that are participating with it?
Yeah, I mean, really positive feedback. When you're able to show a coach how their team is improving, even if they might not necessarily see it just in the overall numbers. Because when you think about a game, there's, obviously still three phases: offense, defense, special teams. So we're affecting, their defense and how they're tackling. But there's still the elements of how their defensive schemes and how they're covering and all those things. But if you anything you focus on with intent tends to improve, and we've seen a lot of really great improvements from a performance side. And then on the safety side, it's really about eliminating or reducing the amount of head contact and tackling. So we've seen really positive, results from both sides of the performance and the safety aspect as it relates to head contact. And so those things have, I think, contributed to all the positive feedback that we've been getting from coaches. I think it all kind of came to a head with the partnership with the state of Texas, where they saw the value in what we're teaching and wanted to make sure that all 23,000 of their coaches were able to get tackle certified going into this next 2019 season.
That's great.
Yeah.
So if anyone that's interested for any football programs or anything would be interested, how would they be get a part of out of this and get involved with it?
Yeah, they can, just give us a shout. You can check us out at atavis.com and, hit us up on the contact page there. You can actually download one of our drills so you can see what it is that we teach. But then we do, tackling clinics for school districts, for individual schools, and then obviously all the reports and stuff that we do for teams. So you'll get a little bit of a slice of what we do, but definitely feel free to check out atavis.com and click the contact us button and learn more. And one of our reps will be in touch with you.
Okay, great. That's awesome. All right, so we'll just finish off now with what I call the top of the mountain moment. So just looking back on your journey through football and what you've accomplished and what you've gone through and how you've come along with football. Is there a story you want to share, a special moment, a special memory, or some advice for younger players? Is there anything you want to share about your journey in football?
Yeah, honestly, there's been so many, in my mind, great moments. It's hard to choose just one. But
a few if you want.
It's a funny thing, man. Like the thing that you remember most, you would think would be, like you said, they're top of the mountain moments. Winning a Grey Cup or, playing in the Rose Bowl for the first time. All of those things. But one of my favorite moments was honestly it was my first year playing in this club league with the Mississauga Wolverines, and I was probably the youngest person on the team by a couple of years. But I was playing running back, and I started the season, kind of got hurt somewhere in the middle, missed a few games. But I remember, I'd come from having all the success in high school, and I went and played on this team, and I did not score a touchdown that entire season. Tried my hardest and could not get in the end zone until the last game of the season, where I was able to finally, bust off a big run and score a touchdown. And that was probably one of the best moments for me, because it was one of those things where I didn't want to quit. It meant so much to me, and you worked so hard for it. And I had great teammates who were all behind me and supporting me. And some of these guys are still my best friends to this day, that live out in Vancouver. But that moment and that year represented so much for me, because as a team, we struggled a lot. We didn't win a lot of games. We didn't have a ton of success, but that same team and that same group of guys for the next 3 years all shifted over to the Mississauga Warriors, where we went and won a championship together. And so really it's about, staying strong in the moments where it feels like things are the hardest. The lessons that you'll learn from those moments, man, will carry on with you and stay with you for the rest of your life. So, the big piece of advice to give to any young kid, young player is, man, never let those moments get you down, right? Because you just don't know what they're doing to not just your body, but your mind and to your heart. And so those moments end up being some of the most valuable you'll have. And when at the time they may feel like negative or down, but believe me, there's something to be learned in everything that you experience.
Yeah, exactly. Those tough moments are definitely fuel for the success that you have in the future going forward. So, hey, Kerry, I just want to, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate your time and for spending some time with me, and for our listeners to share your story and share what you're doing now. And again, if anybody in football wants to run a program that wants some information on what you guys are doing there at Atavis, just make sure you check out their website at www.atavis.com. And like you said, someone will definitely get a hold of you and just go through their website and find what you're looking for, and they'll be able to help you out.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so thank you again, Kerry. Yeah, appreciate your time. And,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, if you're ever in Vancouver, we'll have to catch up.
Oh yeah, yep, definitely will, man. I make it up there every now and again, so I'll hit you up.
All right, sounds good, man. Take care.
All right, Lyle. Take care, man.
Thank you for listening to After the Gridiron. If you're a fan of the show, please make sure you subscribe to the show and also leave a rating and review. By doing that, you also help to spread the word about the podcast and assist others in finding the show, so more people can enjoy this great content. You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, with the links to those being found on the website. Your support is very much appreciated. Also, please visit the resources page on the website for links to our sponsors and affiliates. Their support helps to keep the show running, so go to www.atgridiron.com/resources to check them out. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you when we kick off our next episode.